You know, I said to Sylvia when she asked me to, when she told me that the committee had decided that they should give the Sandra Henriquez Award to me, I said, why? She was then looking at a spot in my, well, it was more than a spot, in my apartment in which I have all these racial justice awards. And I said, I have plenty of racial justice awards, as you can see. She said, that's the point. You don't have one from the Boston YWCA. I said, oh. Well, I'm very proud to receive it from the Boston YWCA. You know, I came into the YWCA not to stay, because I came in at the time when the YWCA was like all other places in the United States, segregated. It admitted black women and children, but it had a branch. They had branches. And they had thousands of African American people in the YWCA. But they had them separate. And when I was in high school, they formed a teen group, the YWCA, YW Teens, in my high school. And they would not admit me. And there were only 3 girls, 3 black girls in the school. Well, they couldn't form a branch with 3 people, and therefore we were denied. And so my view of the YWCA as I grew up was not very good. But I decided that I was going to law school, and I was going to kick open every door that had ever been shut on me. As I was growing up, and the YWCA was always one of them. So it was not my favorite organization, as you can see. Then I went off to college, and I discovered that there was a YWCA in my historically black woman school. I was furious. What are they doing here? But I said, I'm going to wait until I get out of law school, and then I'm going to take them all on. So I was invited at one time after I had graduated from law school to join a committee at the YWCA. And my first inclination was to say, no way. Then I said, well, I can't very well kick doors open if I'm going to say no when a door is opened for me and I refuse it. I said, so I will come to the YWCA, but I will not join. I will come to be a member of your committee. So I did. Met a lot of wonderful people there. And the executive director at that time was a different one. And she had a different vision, and she knew better what the YWCA stood for. And she sent me to the YWCA convention of 1952. And I looked around that room, and I saw women and girls of all colors at that convention, and there were about 2,000 members. So I said, well, something has changed. And I learned what had changed. At their 1946 convention, they had they had voted for what they called an interracial charter. And that interracial charter said something like this: we in the YWCA, we will ask the country to eliminate segregation, and what we ask of the country, we will do ourselves. Here on out, our organizations will be desegregated, and we will have no women and girls of color and women and girls of white. And we will begin to carry that message throughout the country and work with the other organizations that we work with to make that happen in theirs. And they began the mission of eliminating discrimination within the YWCA. And there were no more branches of color and white. There are branches, but there are no more branches of color. And the YWCA has been about that business ever since. And so I said, well, it looks like this is the organization for me. I have come home. And I began to work for the YWCA ever since, and to bring as many people as I could into the organization, because I know what it represents, because I know what it did for me. And it also made me a better lawyer, because I learned so much from my work in the YWCA that I took it into whatever courtrooms I went into. But I didn't do much court work. I did mostly programs. I ran a staff of lawyers, and I helped them how to frame programs so that as we make our decisions, we can bring into these organizations, these manufacturers or whatever they were, ways to keep discrimination out of their companies. And so they would ask me, Ms. Putnam, where did you find that? Where did you get that from? I said, I got it from the YWCA. So they knew what the YWCA was and what the YWCA can do for women. Because I learned more law about the elimination of racism in the YWCA than I did in the law schools and the courts. But I will say, they helped me get there. And so, when Sylvia said she didn't see a Racial Justice Award in my apartment, I said, well, you do now. And you need to know that the YWCA was much a part of my career as Boston University Law School, because I learned a lot just working with all of our women. So, I will receive this award, and it will have, when Sylvia, when you come back to my apartment, it will have a wonderful place there, and you will be able to see it, because it will be right out front.